Sky Squad, we are back in the building. And as you can tell by the title and the thumbnail, we're going to be talking about Married to Medicine Season 8, Episode 6. Okay? Now, the headline reads, Toya Bush Harris brings back Lisa Nicole Cloud and Kari Wells to Married to Medicine. I have some concerns about this show. As you guys know, Married to Medicine is typically one of my favorite shows on Bravo. I have a couple of concerns, but I want to know what you guys think, and we're going to talk about it in this review. Before we get into that, let me know in the chatterization where you guys are watching from. I see some of the gang from earlier is back, so I'm excited about that. We got ATL, Scottsdale, Arizona. Who else we got up in here? Los Angeles, Columbia, South Carolina, Madison, Wisconsin, Florida, South Carolina, Dallas, Texas. I see y'all. San Antonio, Jacksonville, Florida, Chicago, Louisville, Canada, Chicago. Let's get into the thing because we back in this good building. So we got to get into Married to Medicine, Season 8, Episode 6. Now, I want to know, why do you guys think that Lisa Nicole Cloud and Kari Wells were brought in at this point in the season? I mean, you know, they were technically brought back in an earlier episode, you know, but we really didn't talk about the impact of why they were brought back. And a part of me has to wonder if they were brought back because it seems as though there was very little dramatic content on the show. I feel as though, you know, the storyline with Quad, who is not really featured that much on the show, and Toya talking about the house, and even with Dr. Heavenly bringing it up with Toya, as well as Quad being mentioned in this episode as well, it kind of leads me to believe that maybe they didn't feel as confident with this season as they had in prior seasons, with the amount of, you know, drama. You know, Married to Medicine is a show that, thank you for the super chat. We have Karen Barber. Thank you for that. Who says they are trying to bring Lisa back. Shalana says Lisa Nicole needs redemption from her last encounter with Heavenly and Quad. You know, I just kind of think that maybe there's just not a lot happening. Or maybe some things are being left on the cutting room floor. I don't really know. I don't know what the case is. Sherry, thank you for the super chat, says they are really Married to Medicine and Toya's backup. That's what it felt like. It felt like LaToya needed to call in the cavalry because I don't really know how close her and Anila really are at this point in time. And we'll talk about that in just a bit. But because I don't know if you guys happen to see Anila on Watch What Happens Live. And I don't know. I just some things make me feel like her and Toya aren't necessarily in the best place currently. But we'll see. We'll see how things go. And while we're talking about the episode, I want to know what you guys would rate this episode on a scale of 1 to 10. I'm going to rate it a 7. And I'm going to rate it a 7 because I felt like some things fell flat to me. Okay. I was excited about this episode because I thought to myself, ooh, there's probably going to be a lot of drama. They're having a group event. And y'all know anytime there's a group event with all the ladies, something is bound to jump off. And maybe, you know, maybe there was just no insane drama that was going to occur. Obviously, we don't want anything fake, but, you know, we want something to occur. I mean, there's got to be something, some little conflict that we're having, other than the Jackie and the Simone conflict, which to me, I've never felt like it was going anywhere anyway. So we got that. And I see a lot of you guys are saying 5s and 7s and 6. And I would agree, Karen. I almost feel like producers made a mistake not bringing Mariah back this season. I think that, Mariah and Quad, they were the two polarizing figures on the show. And then you add in a Dr. Heavenly and obviously Simone and Toya, and you got fireworks right there. So that's the group to me. That's no disrespect to Dr. Contessa or no disrespect to Dr. Jackie, but I feel like those ladies bring the fireworks in a way that we're used to seeing on this show. So that's my thought initially going into that's my thought not going into the episode. That was my thought when I finished watching the episode. I felt like something is missing. This all just fell flat to me. But let's get into it. Let's talk about it. We begin the episode with Dr. Heavenly getting a call from Reverend Al Sharpton, okay? But I noticed he was calling from a blocked number, all right? Guess he didn't want these people to find out what his actual number is. Now, he had heard about the work that Dr. Damon and Dr. Heavenly have been doing with the mobile testing units for the pandemic response. And he invites them to a march on Washington to do mobile testing at the march. Thank you for the super chat, Paulette, who says, congratulations on your marriage. Watching you for a long time. I enjoyed your review on the show. Thank you. Thank you so much. I try my hardest, So they get invited to the march, and then we go over to Dr. Contessa's house. And it was there that I decided that I want lions in front of my house as well. Okay. I want lions in front of my house. I like the luxury of it. I feel like it's just fabulous. Okay. But not so fabulous is this kitchen renovation, which is taking place amid her and Scott opening the new practice, the kids being home from the pandemic. Okay. There's a lot that is going on. It's just a lot. Now, she's talking to her niece, who gives her a rose quartz. Sherry, thank you for the super chat, who says, Contessa and Jackie are boring. They need Mariah and her mother. Thank you for that super chat. I like Contessa. I like Dr. Contessa because I don't feel like everybody needs to be dramatic. You know what I'm saying? I think Dr. Contessa is dramatic when necessary. But I think that there's a certain amount of pizzazz and sassiness that Mariah and Quad bring to the show. And it's just missed to me. So Dr. Contessa's niece, I'm assuming it's her niece, gives her a rose quartz and she prays over it, but she prays that Scott doesn't have a side chick. So the producer has to ask, what does that mean? Why would you randomly bring up this in your prayer? Okay. Now, this to me is the droplings of what we are going to see come to fruition towards the latter half of the season. Okay. This whole situation with Dr. Scott and the accusations that there's some cheating going on there. Okay. So this is the first little drop that we get of that. Right, Danielle, it was so random. But I noted it, and the producer noted it too, okay? And this is what I mean, and we talked about it in our last review of Real Housewives of Atlanta. This is how you build a story. This is how you give us a drop that's big enough for us to recognize and then recall later. So this is how they're building the story. And I appreciate it so much because that takes a little bit of care and effort. And I appreciate that they brought that effort to this story. And I didn't even think about that till just now, to be quite honest with you. All right. She proposes having a crystal energy event for the girls because no one is getting along. Now, I get the event from Love and Marriage Huntsville because y'all know everybody say event on that show, okay? We get to Dr. Simone's house. Cecil's at the bar pouring him a drink of the scotch, okay? He got his little drinkerization over there. This is just pomegranate juice for those who may want to know. Now, they were looking forward to being empty nesters, but they still got a child in the home. He tells her that, she tells him that Jackie called inviting her to lunch. She feels like she's only doing that because Dr. Heavenly told her to do it, okay? Cecil tells her to give Jackie the benefit of the doubt. Now, at Dr. Jackie's house, she's talking to Curtis. Curtis recaps the basketball game, and she's missing Dr. Simone just as well. Now, Simone is reasoning that this is so difficult because she's never been in a tense situation with Dr. Jackie before. Now, I can understand that because in general, I feel like if you have a friendship and you've never beefed with that friend before, it can be difficult to figure out how to maneuver. But it should not have taken y'all months to figure this out. This is going to be the most anticlimactic reconciliation in the history of reconciliations on this show, mostly because we know that Dr. Jackie and Dr. Simone are never going to go at it the way, a Mariah and a Heavenly would go at it, or a Heavenly and a TOYA, or a TOYA and a Contessa, because Dr. Jackie is not going to raise her voice like that. To be quite honest with you, she's not going to give you that high level, that type of level of drama. She's going to handle it in a different way. Now, I ain't mad at the way she's handling it, but I just kind of feel like it ain't going to go nowhere. And honestly, y'all, either you're going to make up or you're not. But at the end of the day, it seems like it's been 6 episodes and y'all ain't had this conversation yet. What are we waiting for? Why are y'all delaying this for so long? This conversation could have been had at the top of the season. Quiet as it's kept, okay? And side note, didn't it seem like it took forever for Michael to go to college? I felt like we was watching him prepare for college for weeks and weeks and weeks. And we only on episode 6, but it felt like a long time to me. I was like, he still ain't going to college yet? Okay, that was just me. It just seemed like it was dragging on. Anyway, long story short, they're going to have a talk, okay? Dr. Damon tells all the guys that Al Sharpton had been called and invited them to DC. So all the guys get together at Top Golf, which I just want y'all to know is one of my favorite things to do. Okay, I am an avid top golfer and I'm good at it too. So if you want to battle, we can do it, But anyway, I appreciated this scene. I felt like, and as I'm watching the episode, I feel like I'm missing something in this episode. And I felt like I was missing more of TOYA. TOYA has an irreverence that just is bubbly and bright. And, she's kind of like, she seemed like she don't take herself too seriously. She's like the fun bus. You know what I'm saying? And without her presence for the majority of the episode, I felt like this episode was just so serious. Maybe that's what it was for me. This episode just felt like it was just kind of moving along. Anyway, I digress. The men have shots of Crown. Dr. Damon lets them know that they have a private jet for the to get up to the DC to go to the march, and they're gonna be staying in a house. Now, Curtis says, are our wives going? And all I'm thinking about is, sir, you are the last person that needs to be asking that question, because everybody in that circle know, and all of us know, that you have had issues with infidelity. So you need to never say stuff like that ever, ever, ever. Now, I know he was basically just referring to the fact that if the wives are going, it was going to be drama. But at the end of the day, it's still not a question you should be asking on the national television, given your previous indiscretions. Okay, that's just my thought on that. Wrong road, Curtis, wrong road. Now, Dr. Damon asked the boys, because they had brought the boys, some of the sons, what Black Lives Matter means. They have a really good discussion that I felt like honestly needed to be had on national television. So I wasn't mad at this. And then they have another round of shots and they continue on. Now, we get to Dr. Contessa's celestial celebration. Dr. Heavenly is on the way with Funky Dineva. That was probably one of the most exciting things to me because I was just happy to see my boy on the show. And they was boot scooting boogieing on down to the celestial celebration. But they was talking about the Quad situation because Q was like, I wish that Quad was here so we could all be hanging out together. And then they bring up the whole, photo gate with Quad and down to the Tulum. And Heavenly talking about how she didn't really want to respond or go in too hard on Quad because Quad, as she say, don't have a man to love her, nor does she have any kids. And again, I felt a little hurt by that myself. I felt like she had stabbed me a little bit. That's what I felt like because it kind of cut, it kind of cut a little bit. Anyway, Dr. Jackie arrives first. And so this is where I realized that, this is an event where all people could invite a friend of the show. Okay, so Dr. Heavenly brings, Q. We get Dr. Contessa got some friends or some girlfriends that are coming or something like that. Dr. Jackie don't come with nobody. Dr. Simone ain't come with nobody. But we learned that TOYA is gonna come and she gonna bring some extra guests too in the form of Lisa Nicole and Kari Wells. Okay. Now, can somebody riddle me this? Was Kari Wells at that little oyster fry that TOYA had a couple of weeks ago? Because I can't remember. I can't remember if she was there that time, but we know she's coming this time. And she's obviously like, the people seem like they dress for yoga or something. So we get Dr. Jackie and Dr. Heaven and Dr. Simone awkwardly waving to each other. Hey, girl, from all the way across the room. And I'm just thinking to myself, I don't know why y'all dragging this thing out. Just go ahead and talk. I mean, go ahead and talk, okay? So they doing that. And then we have Anila arrives, Heavenly and Q arrive, and then they about to get started, okay? So TOYA is late because she's bringing her back up. And they're yakking it up about Quad posing like Megan Thee Stallion and fat transfer for the butts, okay? Now, the producer juxtaposed, them in the car having this, conversation about booties with the peace and serenity of what's going on at the celestial celebration. And I thought that was a nice little touch right there. But when they do roll in, they kind of loud and they're disrupting the flow. And you get Dr. Heavenly giggling over there to the side, asking why TOYA is bringing in these recycled friends. Okay. Now, quiet as is kept, to be quite honest with you, I couldn't help but think to myself in this moment, this would have been a lot more impactful if you had Mariah and you had Quad there as well in this whole group setting. Or if TOYA had walked in with Mariah and or Quad, one of the two, it would have had to likely been Mariah because I don't know that TOYA and Quad would be chummy like that. But would it not have been impactful if she had walked in with Mariah, Lisa, and Kari? Now, to me, that would have made even more of an impact than just walking in with the two of them. But Dr. Heavenly giggling off to the side did tickle me ever so. So I was pleased by that reaction from her, okay? Just because I felt like Dr. Heavenly is the entertainment factor on this show outside of TOYA. When TOYA's, TOYA acts, I like TOYA. She's kind of, she give me a little silliness, you know what I'm saying? But Dr. Heavenly gives me some comedy that I need on this show. Anyway, the goal here at this celestial celebration is to heal from some things. Now, it seems to me like most of the ladies don't care about the crystals at all. They ain't really concerned about any of that. What they really want is some food, okay? And so, Dr. Contessa, which I'm going to need you to do is, and I don't know what is going on these shows with these people not bringing food to these events, but I don't know what you're thinking. Okay. And I don't know why you are either maybe relying on production to bring it or not having the wherewithal to think these people might be hungry. Okay, we are filming. Let me provide some type of craft services or something like that. Let me have at least a morsel or something, a little sausage ball or something, or a meatball, or a little tiny wiener or something. You know what I'm saying? I mean, just anything. It would be helpful, because the ladies people can't function and focus without food. I know I can't. Okay. Anyway, so the goal is that they're going to be passing the crystals around. Now, Simone would like to be forgiven by anyone who she has offended or whatever. Now, it is important to note that Simone said anyone. And I'm going to point this out in just 1 second, because Simone did not address one single person. She said anyone. All right. So then Neela apologizes for being offensive about her Black Lives Matter movement statements. Heavenly forgives her. Contessa asked to be forgiven for being dismissive of stuff that she feels like is BS. Now, I don't know if this was the right way of asking to be forgiven for something, because you're kind of insulting the person that you're asking to forgive you, because what you're doing is you're putting down something that they feel like is an issue and you're calling it BS. So this ain't the way to apologize, Dr. Contessa, and this is your event. So I would expect that you are going to be the person who is probably the most, apologetic for whatever it is. But she sat up on her heel and that's what she gave, okay? And so Toya was just looking on, okay? Jackie apologizes for not taking a stand when it was probably needed. She does not address anyone. And Simone, in her confessional, says that Jackie is talking in code. And I'm thinking, well, Simone, you just did the same thing. You simply said, I apologize to anyone that I have offended. You speaking in code, if you think about it as well. Because if you got a single solitary person that you apologizing to, then name that person, okay? Name that person. So then we get Heavenly apologizing to Toya, and I like the little production insert about the breaking news, because then they flash back to every single 100,000 times that Dr. Heavenly done apologize to something. But the funny thing about it is, we all know, like Toya know, that she might apologize, but she probably gonna do it again. Okay, she gonna do it again. We know that's just Dr. Heavenly. She gonna do it again. But that's what you either love Dr. Heavenly or you don't like Dr. Heavenly. But I feel like I like her because I know what we're going to get from her. You know what I'm saying? We're going to get some comedy. She's going to mess up again. She's going to apologize again. This, that, and the third. It's going to be the same, and it's going to be fun, and it's going to be funny, okay? Anyway, Toya is not impressed. And Anila is excited about the trip, and she wants to clear the air with Dr. Heavenly. They have a nice little discussion. Jackie and Simone are still not having the conversation at that moment. Now, I just want to have a conversation about a couple of things. Somebody wrote it down. Adele said, I hate that blanket go-to apology encompassing anyone who may be offended. Simone should have straight out apologized to Jackie. Absolutely. I feel like, this scene, or in this group scene, fell flat to me. I believe that there had to be more that happened in this scene than what we saw, because it really seemed like it was just, was anything cleared up? Outside of Dr. Heavenly and Anila, which we really weren't privy that much to the initial issue, because they only showed it to us in flashback. So my thought was that I was like, where was the fireworks that I'm thinking we was going to see? And why did I think we were going to see fireworks? Here's the thing. If you bring in Kari Wells, you bring in Lisa Nicole Cloud, you have Funky Dineva there. Y'all mean to tell me there won't no fireworks in that scene? I don't believe it. I don't believe it, not for 1 second. Because otherwise, you have wasted the use of these extra characters who, in and of themselves, can bring enough spice and fire to last a whole episode or two. So I just felt like, did we see everything? Was that it? I'm a little disappointed by this. And again, I want resolution, but I feel like when you bring in all these people together like this, where is the intense discussion that usually leads to the resolution? I feel like they skipped over all of that. So it just, again, it fell flat to me. So finally, we get to the conversation of the season, okay? We get Simone stopping by Dr. Jackie's office, okay? Then they start off with some little awkward small talk. Jackie starts off by asking Simone if she misses Michael, so they get to talking about that. Jackie wants to know, and I like this statement. Jackie says, what can she do, or what can they do to move past the situation? She misses her friend. Now, this scene, it did not play out the way that I thought it was going to play out. When you watch the previews for this scene, it looks like Simone is going to be a lot more resistant to making up. But she really wasn't, which is fine because, to be quite honest with you, this ain't the most interesting storyline. It would be only interesting if I felt like there was some real deep-seated like anger there, but it just kind of feels like they was just not talking. Okay, that's what it felt like to me. They both missed their friends. Jackie asked, do you want to fix it? Simone says, of course. Jackie says, well, what do you think that I've done to hurt you? Now, in general, in an apology session or a makeup session, I would usually advise to never go backwards. I would usually advise, let's not revisit it, because guess what? That tends to bring up old feelings. It brings it up all over again. And that's exactly what was starting to happen. Okay. Simone says it was the silence. But when she was battling with Dr. Heavenly, she felt like Dr. Jackie should have taken a stand. Jackie apologizes for not taking a stance, but Jackie is upset that Dr. Simone didn't defend her with the Buffy situation. Now, I personally didn't see where she needed to defend Dr. Jackie as much as Dr. Jackie should have just apologized genuinely and then moved on from the situation. And it didn't seem like a genuine or a somewhat genuine apology came to Buffy until much later, right? But Simone, yet and still, is apologetic because in her confessional, she does say, I wish I had, had her back or whatever. You can see that these two ladies really do have a deep, genuine friendship. They revisit Jackie's battle with, breast cancer. They really have a lot of deep ties with each other. So it honestly only makes sense that they get back together. Now, what I feel like in this situation, though, is based on Dr. Simone's last visit to Watch What Happens Live, she really didn't seem all that fond of Dr. Jackie at that point. And that was just a few weeks ago. So I'm wondering, did these two ladies really make up, or was that just in this moment that they decided to try again and try harder for their friendship? I was really unclear and unsure about that because when you hear Dr. Simone talk about her, it ain't pleasant, okay? It ain't with like great love and affection, okay? So to me, I'm just wondering what happens next. And Anila sort of said something to that effect during her appearance on Watch What Happens Live last night. She said you have to keep watching. So we'll just have to see what that means. But there is something else that I wanted to point out to you guys, and I'm going to see if I could pull it up real quick on Instagram. Give me 1 second. So after the episode, you will see, if you head over to Toya's Instagram, after Watch What Happens Live, you will notice that Toya posted this. Make sure you guys can see it. Okay. This says, on a t-shirt, make money, not friends. And so Toya says, after tonight, I really need to go buy this tee and wear it daily. Married to Medicine, Detroit mentality, can't buy loyalty. It's in my DNA. Every season, knife in my back. Okay. So then one of the commenters said this. She just wanted to get on the show and she's boring AF next. Her husband is more interesting than her. So this leads me. Oh, thank you, Ashley. Ashley says, Contessa has nothing to be sorry for. I hope that she continues to be dismissive of the BS. Simone has no reason to have an issue with Jackie. She's more stubborn than Jackie. Thank you for that super chat, Ashley. Thank you. So, we have Toya saying this, and I believe it's about Anila, because Anila on Watch What Happens Live last night, you know, she just had some interesting things to say about Toya and her opinions about Toya. And I was kind of like, well, that's odd. Like, one of the things that she said was she didn't see why Toya needed to bring in Lisa Nicole and Carrie Wells. It was just interesting. And it just made me believe that something ain't right with the two of them. Something funny is going on. And if you look on Instagram, you'll see a lot of photos of Anila with Dr. Heavenly. Now, if you know the show, you know that Toya and Dr. Heavenly don't get along the best. So I don't know. Now, Black Yale says, to be fair, Toya shaded Anila first when she was on Watch What Happens Live with Simone. So here's the thing. I believe something is going on between the two of them, and we did see them have like a little bit of an issue in the trailer, so we'll just have to kind of see how it plays out and see what happens. But that's basically my review of Married to Medicine, y'all. I mean, I just kind of feel like, you know, not a lot happened last night, and I feel like they didn't use Lisa Nicole, Carrie Wells, Funky Dineva to the best of their abilities last night. And so it kind of just made you feel like, well, you know, we wanted more from them. We wanted more from them in the scene. We wanted to see more of them interacting with the group and with each other and what they had to say and that sort of thing. So I don't know. It was just an okay episode for me. I'm interested to see where the situation goes with Dr. Contessa and her praying that Scott doesn't have a side chick. That was interesting to me. It came out of the blue, so I'm really ready for that. But that's all we got for y'all for right now. I'm going to try to either do a video or a reacting to the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills trailer coming up soon. I have, I think I have All About the Tea for Real Housewives of Atlanta coming up at 3 p.m. Just checking my calendar. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on today. Beverly Hills was released. I got some thoughts about that, but we'll talk about that in another video. With that being said, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell button, shoot me a text message so I can send you a text message when a new video drops. And with that, I'll catch you guys in the next video.